There are a lot of contexts where you might find yourself now being a social media marketer. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, you're trying to do your own marketing. Maybe you're part of a startup or part of a big company, you find your way into a department. I'm part of a small company and I also do it a little bit on my own, but I just want to talk about some of the lessons that I've learned doing social media marketing over the last couple of years. Probably not all of this is going to be mind-blowing or paradigm shifting, but this is really just stuff that I kind of figured out along the way. Maybe that'll give you more perspective on what this job is like. Or maybe you'll feel like, hey, that's something I didn't even think about, but now I realize that in my own job. So one of the first lessons that I learned doing social media marketing for a company is that your job is really going to be threading a needle, walking a fine line between pissing off your vendors and maybe your boss, companies that you work with, and trying to provide value to your audience. When I do bike reviews for our bike shop, I can't hold back too much. If something sucks about a bike, even if it comes from one of our vendors that we do a lot of business with, I have to be honest to the audience and say, I don't like this. This could be better. The suspension on this bike is not great, for example. Ultimately, an audience is going to have more appreciation and hold you in higher regard if you're honest in your reviews. You're honest when you talk about products or changes in your industry. Whereas if you're always just capping and kind of covering for your companies that you work with or covering for your boss and your company, you never get that respect. And companies that come across as honest, genuine, and true, that's where your marketing is really going to start to push people into being a big fan of your company and buying from you. I found this walking around out here. Kind of smells like death, so I should probably not stand here. Now, this next lesson is something that I had to learn pretty quick that I think a lot of marketers still need to learn, which is it's incumbent upon you as a marketer to justify your job, okay? If a company is willing to take a risk on you for a marketing budget, which let's be honest, marketers, we're the modern day alchemists, right? We're supposed to make something out of nothing, take virtually no resources or no infrastructure other than our own bodies and generate all of this attention to get your company thousands of dollars in sales, right? Like we're a modern day alchemist. A lot of our job is not really quantifiable, right? A lot of times if an influx of sales come in, it's like, how do we know that that came from our marketing department, came from our advertising, came from all these outreaches that you're doing as a marketer, right? It's incumbent upon you to prove that you provide enough value to this company where they're not going to replace you. Because like, let's be honest, saying that, oh, I'm going to put $40,000 into a salary for a marketing guy, that's a big risk for a lot of smaller companies or even bigger companies, right? It's a job that's not easily quantifiable. So it's incumbent upon you to figure out, how can I make my job more quantifiable or measurable, okay? And how can I provide so much value that it's no question that I was worth the hire? And one thing that I do, I'm not even gonna lie to y'all, when I hop on YouTube and I'm making bike reviews for the bike shop and I'm saying, hey, you can get this and this from us. If you'd like, call us at this number. I flat out tell them, ask for Mitchell. I'll do my best to get you a good deal, maybe get you some free shipping, because I want as many phone calls as I can to the shops each day. Hey, is Mitchell there? Because when people hear that, they know, oh, that's Mitchell marketing. We can't take it away from him. The kid's doing what he's good at. Now, this next point might get me some hate, but it's the reality as I'm seeing it, which is that only 5% of marketers have true job security. The bottom 95% of marketers have virtually no job security. When that company that they work for needs to make cuts in the future, maybe during a recession, it's a lot of times the advertising budgets, the marketing budgets that go out the window. And those bottom 95%, they're super replaceable, okay? If you're a top 5% of marketers and your face is actually synonymous with your company's social media marketing, their brand, and you run up their sales so much, you help them get so much revenue over time that they know, ooh, if that guy goes, our social media is going to tank, and in turn our sales are going to tank, a lot of our marketing is going to fall apart. That's when you have real job security, okay? So the vast majority of marketers are really not doing the tasks that make them irreplaceable and that are going to bring in the most possible revenue long term. And I think it's incumbent upon you to figure out, okay, how can I make myself integral to this company's success, and so that they can't fire me and I have real job security. If I leave, their sales are going to tank. And if you reach that point, that's where you can, as a marketer, go from making average money to really start to almost get equity or get big shares of revenue in a company. It's by becoming so integral to the incoming business to the company that they know they can't afford to lose you, because it's going to hurt the company as a whole. Sounds kind of crappy to say, but I was actually talking to a friend about this. He knows a guy who does social media for a company that has now gotten so big. The guy who runs the social media uses his personal face in the marketing, right? He's become a personality for that brand. They know now if we lose that personality and all of the wisdom that he's gained running our social media over time, our sales are going to drastically tank. They can't fire the guy and they're just going to keep giving him more and more money. Now, one thing that I recently had to come to terms with is that this is a job where there's always going to be commentators, right? It's almost like you're an athlete and you've got so many people on the benches watching what you're doing that there's always going to be some sort of commentary on your quality of work and what it is that you're doing. And some of it's going to be good, but most of it's going to be criticism, and it's just going to be advice that doesn't really apply to what you're trying to accomplish. For the bike shop's social media that I manage, I run a lot of our social media kind of like a news feed. I try to keep people super updated with everything that's happening in the bike world. And I do that because people are not blind. They're not dumb. They're going to seek out this information one way or another, so they might as well see it on our page and be inundated with our brand, our company, and what it is that we sell and what we do. I had a coworker walk up to me and essentially tell me, stop doing that. I got a call about somebody asking about a bike that's going to be released soon that we don't even carry their brand, right? And he said this like it was a problem, right? But I know that he's also working at a shop that's in need of sales right now. They're trying to grow that shop. And I looked at him and I said, isn't it better that people are calling us about bikes and then you can have the chance to sell them on a similar bike from another brand than have them not call at all? Isn't that a win? I'll flip that around and give you another example, which is one time I actually did listen to one of my boss's recommendations on a skit he wanted to do for a product, and we became the best-selling company for that product after we ran that ad. It was so successful. So, you know, it can be a good thing, it can be a bad thing, but just know that as a social media marketer, you're always going to be hearing feedback, critiques, what you should be doing. There's never going to be a day that goes by that somebody isn't telling you something. Now, lastly, and probably the most importantly, you need to be very diligent with your time and you need to understand the value of your time. And I'll give you an example of this. One of my coworkers had me come out and film him biking. We got some nice shots on the trail, made a nice edit. It got probably 1,000 views, right? And it got really good engagement. And he has asked me before, why don't you put out more content like that, right? Like that seems to get the most amount of likes for us, the most amount of engagement. It seems like people like that the most. And I was like, look, dude, think about it like this. If I do that, if I go out there and film you and I edit and then I finally get a post on all these different social media platforms, let's say it gets in front of 1,000 people on Instagram, okay? I've just spent 4 hours in that entire process from top to bottom. If I'm just making a news piece, right, from the comfort of the shop, I can get the whole thing done in 30 minutes. We're gonna get in front of 500 people, okay? So yes, the exposure is technically half, but the time to create it was far less than half. So I can get out 4 posts and actually outperform that one big video just by working a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more effectively. So it's really important to understand the value of your time. Another thing, man, focus on revenue generating activities, okay? Like everything is gonna be all right in your job if you're bringing in sales for your company, right? If the second you get hired, they notice an uptick in sales, they're not gonna wanna get rid of you. It's not rocket science. They're in business to make money. If you're bringing in money for your company because you're focused on what's gonna bring in the most revenue, right? At the end of the day, everything's gonna be probably all right for you. So be diligent with your time, get the most out of your time that you can, but also think about, okay, how am I gonna apply my time so that I can bring in, so that I can do the things that provide the most value for our company? That's just my 2 cents. When the song come on,